I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I left my old podcast setup behind. I got a new setup, so I'll leave all my friends behind. So if you're cool, reach out to me and we can be friends. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. If you're watching the video portion of this, we got a new setup. Your boy finally came through with the setup. I've been teasing it for weeks, and you know what? Still work in progress. I got it set up. I wanted a table for a while. It finally came to fruition through the secret, the power of suggestion, through thinking about it, wishing it, believe, succeed, achieve, and the universe has brought me it. Okay, it brought it to me coronavirus free, and now I'm fucking ready. Look at the artwork now. We got Muhammad up here, the greatest of all time. Behind me, we got some original artwork on this side of me. Sorry, I'm looking at the monitor. I'm backwards. Some original art I did of an astronaut exploding. Poof. All the creation is inside us. The universe is inside us. Hashtag the secret. Got the organic originals plug over here. I got Mono, the pandemic conspiracy theorist gremlin, if you will, in the podcast. And I got the salt lamp. Shout out to the secret. Shout out to Muhammad Ali. This is all just a work in progress. I done wrestle with an alligator, tussle with the whale, handcuff lightning, throw thunder in jail. I'm bad. Only last week, I done murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick. Fast. Yeah, I love me some Muhammad Ali. What a showman, huh? And just a disclaimer, I don't believe in the secret. I don't buy into it. Do I believe in the power of suggestion? Do I believe in wish it, want it, believe it, achieve it, succeed it? I think there's some power in positivity, but I don't necessarily believe that if you just keep thinking about something, it's going to happen. I think you do become what your thoughts are. So like if you are always thinking negative, and you're never doing anything to change it, well, it's going to be like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay. And those are all those people that are like always just so negative about everything. And they're like, nothing ever turns out for me. It's because you'll just think that way. I do think there's some truth to focusing on the positive and never giving up. Seeing things come to fruition. That's been a story of my life. I started this whole video production, music, just entertainment. The day I decided, you know what, fuck this shit. I want to create something with my life. It was the very first time I got anything. It was my sister's, I don't know why she had it, but it was almost like a gaming headphones. That's what I started my music career with. When I first started being like, you know what, I'm going to do something with this. And at that moment, did I think that I would get to the point where I had my own like studio? No, I don't know. I knew that I'm a big believer in like, if you just never quit and you don't get complacent, things will evolve and you'll eventually get where you need to go. And this has kind of always been, it's kind of crazy that it's twisted into like comedy and podcasting and even video production. But I always kind of had this vision of having my own thing, like not needing other people. Cause like I always have been kind of more independent with it and always just wanted to do things on my own. And that's why I was getting a talk with a buddy today and he was like, dude, you would have been a good nurse. And it was kind of like joking, but it's like, I would have never survived that world because I don't do well with bosses. I don't do well with a limited growth of, I don't do well with bosses. I guess that's the base of it. And I don't do well in those environments where there's just such a structure where you can't grow outside that box. So it's like, I'm like a goldfish. You put me in a 10-gallon tank. I'm gonna fill that 10-gallon tank up. Okay. You put me in the ocean. Well, I'm gonna become a goldfish whale. Okay. We're not making sense anymore. Look, we got video now. We switched from the mason jars now to a NASA coffee cup. just because I was like, I can't be fucking around with no little tink metal straw just bullshitting on this thing. Drinking that solid H2O 5-stage purification, installed it by myself. I'm happy with the table because it's going to be perfect for when I start having guests again. That's one thing I didn't really like. I liked having guests in studio. It's great. I like being able to do remote ones, but I don't really like not being able to see the person. And I didn't like the way when I did those ones with guests in studio, it was just us sitting next to each other. It wasn't ideal. And I was like, we got to find a solution. So that's been one of the things with this pandemic. I was like, let's make some improvements and not lose any slack to where we're playing catch up once this all is over. And so yeah, that's the new studio setup. I am pushing this studio room to the rafters. It is looking good though. I like it. Maybe eventually I'll make another video of a little studio tour of the way I do things in here. The whole setup, the whole process of how I edit all the podcasts and upload them, and just how I live my life. It's Tuesday right now for you. It's Monday for me. And it was an interesting weekend. We had it where the UFC had fights for the first time. First live sporting event back on the map since the pandemic started. And it was glorious. Okay? It was glorious. It has been such a... I guess during this pandemic, you get lost in the minutia of just repeating everything, and things start blending together. And it's just like, okay, it's Saturday again. Okay, it's Sunday. And it's like, things, it's just been kind of the same thing over and over again. And I'll try to break up my week. I've talked before about like a schedule of just having things, and I'll try to stick to it, but like not having anything to like look forward to or to center around a week. It's been rough, but, and obviously I say it's been rough just from my own meandering experience. When you look at the big picture of what people's lives are and how they're quarantined, some people have the things they're just dealing with, pretty cozy, okay? A pretty plush lifestyle. So I'm not complaining and saying it's rough in the big picture. I'm just saying, getting sedentary lifestyle, if you will. But what I'm getting at, to have a live event, to be pumped for, something that broke up the week. I was like, this fucking Saturday, it's fight night, baby. It's going down. It was very nice. And it was nice to get lost in it, where I was like, okay, I got to go back in my kind of my routine of watching fights again and seeing some live. It's weird because that's why like I don't really like video games that I don't play with other players on them, because there's not enough variables for me to enjoy it. Like if I'm just going against a computer and I'm like, eventually I'm going to beat it because I'm on this mission and there's tasks, but it's like, I'm going to figure it out. But when you got to deal with other variables as people, I enjoy it because it's always changing. It's never going to be the same. So you're in that moment having to solve those issues. The same thing with watching live entertainment, I feel. You really don't know the outcome. And it's something that like you get to see it unfold as it's happening. I don't know how to compare this to like movies or something like that. But like with movies, you don't get that same, I don't know, fix, if you will, from watching a movie that you know is going to have an ending. It's not going to be something substantial and changes. It might have a twist, but it's not going to be anything that's like, wow, we just got to see that problem get solved in front of us. No, it's scripted. It's not the same kind of entertainment. So to see something live and have it be in that moment, it was cool to see. And it was great. And it's impressive that the UFC did that. If you watch UFC 249, it was a banger card. Main event, Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje. Beautiful fight. I thought Justin Gaethje, I think he surprised everyone, even himself, because he didn't think he had 5 minutes in him. And he went championship rounds and completely dominated Tony Ferguson, who had a longer training camp, to the point where it could have been a bad thing. Because there's a certain point with athletics, even in swimming, when I swam in college, there's a point where you taper and you have to peak. and you can peak too early or you can peak too late, and you don't have a good performance. There's a point where if you're rested for too long, you miss your peak, or if you work too much, you go over it and you're burnt out. That could be a possibility with Tony Ferguson in this fight, is that it was such a long camp with so many ups and downs that he wasn't able to turn it on during a fight. And that's not taking anything away from Justin Gaethje. He fought phenomenally. And dude, I said it in the podcast leading up to that fight that his left hook is beautiful. Beautiful. It's a work of art. And if you go back and you watch that fight, the way he lands his lead left hook is glorious. It's so fast. It's so reactive. And he's so good with his 1-2 and getting off the line. 1-2, just getting off the line. And the power. And shout out to his coach, Trevor Whitman. Such a smart move to tell his fighter in, like, I think it was round 2, stop trying to knock him out, throw with like 80%. And by just making that small adjustment, he was able to stretch it out over 5 rounds, and he never really burnt out because he was throwing knockout punches. It was great. There was some drama with the co-main event, Dominic Cruz and Henry Cejudo, of an early stoppage. I was really rooting for Dominic Cruz. I didn't think it was the worst call. I did think it was a little early. I don't know if it really changed the outcome of the fight, if it was going to really do anything, but it was a little controversial, maybe a little early, but I thought Henry Cejudo did great. I thought he came with a great game plan of taking out Dominic Cruz's legs early. I think, Henry Cejudo's at the top of his game, the peak, almost past it, because he's already thinking he wants to retire. He announced his fight that he wanted to retire after the fight. And whenever you see a fighter start doing that, it's time to retire. Usually it's the other way around, is that the fighter doesn't want to retire and everybody else around them wants to fight, wants them to retire, sorry. And I think that was a situation that was kind of the opposite, because usually the last person to know it's time to hang it up is the fighter in a little group. And it's important for the people around that fighter to try to tell them the truth and be honest with them. And usually they don't want to hear it until years later. But it's smart. It's beautiful that Henry Cejudo is in a position where he actually is acknowledging it. And he knows it might be time. It might be time. Just because he wants to do other things. That's great. I think it's a beautiful thing. And we could talk about Mike Tyson too coming back, because I think it all ties in together of the ego. When you identify, listen, I've had small glimpses of this when I would compete in boxing and everything. When people find out you're a fighter, there is such an ego boost that comes with that. It feeds this monkey primal brain shit in your head when girls are like, oh my God, you're a fighter. Or when even dudes are, there's like a respecting. And listen, if you attach yourself too much to that ego, it's dangerous. It's poison. It's poison, because you're forgetting why you do it. And if that's the feel for it, if you identify too hard with your ego as a fighter, you're never going to be able to step away at the right time. And you're going to become too emotional with the results and the outcome. And I think you're just going to get too emotional with people's comments about it and about you. I deal with that a little bit and it's one thing that I've probably worked on it, because I see what it's done to other people. Like when I've been in a box where I don't really comments don't get to me. I don't really pay attention to them. Like they don't really do anything to me, because I see the comments that people put on like giant celebrities and like, even Joe Rogan and, fighters, Instagrams and stuff like that. I'm like, how are these fucking Cheeto fingers, if you will, commenting, like these fucking losers in basements commenting on these people's things? It's just like the internet is such a weird world that everybody has a voice, almost to the point where I'm like, I don't know if everybody should have a voice. We should probably rethink this whole freedom of speech thing, eh? But it's just such an interesting thing of, attaching your ego too much to it. So that's why, like, a lot of times I won't I try to take like almost a Zen approach to, I don't even know if it's fucking Zen. That's just what people say when they try to do anything with discipline. It's just more Zen about it. But really, I just try to detach myself from the results of anything. Because if I put in work and people like it, that's awesome. If they don't, well, it's going to get better. It's going to be a work in progress. But I always just like the idea of like, I'm not entitled to the results. I'm only entitled to the process of making them. And I think when you just stick with the process long enough, it will work out. And that's been my self-help book of the day, The Secret. Enjoy The Secret, ladies and gentlemen. Read it, like it, love it, repeat it, succeed it, believe it, and then kill yourself for believing it. Okay? That's the last part of the book they actually cut out, was the part where you need to kill yourself. Something about drinking disinfectants. I actually had a friend reach out to me years ago. I was like, hey, you need to check this out. You seem like someone who's pretty driven. You should check this documentary out. And I was like, okay, what is it? And they're like, it's a secret. And I was like, well, how am I going to watch it? If it's a secret. And they're like, no, it's The Secret. I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe you should have said it that way. But as soon as I started watching it, I was like, what is this? This feels like the editing and everything on it, if you've ever seen it. I was like, this feels like some kind of like movie you check out from your public library, you know? It felt so weird. And if you don't know what The Secret is, everybody knows what The Secret is, right? It's where you like magnetize what you want with the universe. If you want it, the universe will give it to you. It's a wacky philosophy. Okay, I like I was saying in the beginning of this, I feel like there is some reality to like you should focus on your goals. Like that all makes sense. And I wonder, like, you know how people take the Bible literally? It's like if you were gonna look at the Bible and be like, oh, these are just stories to live your life by, they aren't bad. Listen, they aren't bad ideas to live your life by. Like, oh, thou shalt not fuck thy neighbor. I think that's one of them. Probably not a bad idea. What was it? Thou shalt not eat pig and shit. And I think that was Jewish. But like that was like being kosher was a health thing. They were like, oh, swine is a dirty animal. We shouldn't eat it. I don't know where they got the gay thing from. I think someone was just homophobic writing it. And then there's like, I always like that argument. That like it's been mentioned in the Bible more that you shouldn't eat shellfish more than be gay. So like, you people eating shrimp cocktail and shit, shame on you. You know, Jesus is watching. But yeah, The Secret, good old Secret. When people start telling you about The Secret, it's almost like when people start trying to sell you on multi-level marketing, you're just like, oh no, we really were never friends. You know, that's like the worst when people don't get it. You're like, oh no, I thought we knew each other, but you're one of them. You thought this was a good idea. You know what I've been doing lately that I found fascinating and I love it? Muting people. Muting and unfollowing people on Facebook. I give people 30-day timeouts on Facebook now, okay? You get a few dumb things because, hey, I have Facebook memories. Your boy he says some dumb shit, okay? I fully admit that. So I allow people a few get out of jail free cards. But you start saying too much dumb shit. I don't want you in my Facebook world, okay? I don't want you on my Instagram. You only get a few shots. 3 strikes, you're out for 30 days. Listen, you strike out 2 30-day periods, or I'll give you 3 strikes. It's a 3-strike total game. 3 strikes, snoozed. 3 strikes, snooze for 30 days. 3 strikes again, you're out of there, okay? You're just not in my world anymore, okay? Because you either believe in The Secret, that it's a plandemic, or you're trying to sell me something with multi-level marketing. Don't ever slide in my DMs and be like, hey, stranger, hey, you know, I can't take it. It's ridiculous. And they're still out there. I wonder how many virtual multi-level marketing is going on right now. You know, it's got to be happening. Those companies, you know, shout out to them for just surviving for so long. I think they just make such an amount of money on people not being able to cancel their credit cards that they just stay afloat and they change their name and they start the process all over again. speaking of the pandemic, this is, I know I always say this shit. I don't want to talk about this, but it's just what's in my mind right now. What I always don't like about this shit is when there's so many people who have never had any kind of understanding of like economics and our social situation, everything. And I'm one of them. I'm full of a bunch of tomfoolery. But one thing I do have a background in is nursing. I do know a little bit about the hospital world, and I know a lot about Western medicine and the pitfalls of it, because that was like a huge part of why I didn't want to be a nurse, and because I know a lot about nutrition and working out and everything like that. And it's kind of crazy because I just don't like when people start talking about, at least posting about it, because I'll talk like a silly goose on here, I'll say some dumb shit, but like I'm just talking, and it's mainly just ideas and things that I think. I don't know the truth. I don't. And when you start seeing people post too much about the truth and calling people sheeple and stuff like that, it's just like, you don't have any facts about anything, and you're coming up with all these opinions. And then it gets to the point where I'm like, when is this dangerous? Because on one hand, we have the freedom of speech. And then on the other hand, you have places like YouTube and Facebook censoring people because they're spreading false information about the pandemic. And it's like, I get why they're doing it, but then is that a slippery slope when we start imposing censorship from a company like YouTube and Facebook? In which, listen, Facebook and YouTube have been censoring and hiding different political beliefs for years. Same thing with Twitter, Instagram. Your boy's been marked on Instagram. Listen, there's some people, they try to search for me. They can't even find me on Instagram. Why? Because back in the day, your boy went hard at vegans, okay? He went hard at vegans, and they clapped back. And you know what? They got me. They got your boy, okay? They went a little hard in the paint, reported me for bullying, and for a long time, your boy was just losing followers. Tick, 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 losing them. My views, my likes, comments, everything just dropped off. Some people can't even find me anymore. So I know all about the censorship world. I don't think I'm for it at all. And you know what is some very clickbait tactic from these people who do the pandemic? Share this with all your friends before it gets taken down. That is such a Pinterest mom move, And I say Pinterest mom because no one shares bullshit like Karen on Facebook. I've said this before. And listen, I feel like moms over the age of 40 should have to have like a 5-step thing before they're allowed to post on Facebook, where it's like a security clearance, but also like hey, did you fact check this? Okay, where did you fact check? Because now people don't want to even use Snopes anymore. So now you got to actually do some real hard research. My boy Massimo from 10 Planet Ventura, shout out. He put together, I believe it was an 8,000 word article debunking everything in the pandemic, just with evidence-based articles and facts. And that's why I love him. I feel like it was really easy to debunk that for the simple fact it's like no secrets are going to be told over a YouTube video with like sci-fi music in the background. Like that, it just doesn't come in that format. And it's like, people get to such crazy, I don't even know what I would call it. Basically, before I go down this rabbit hole, I think it's dangerous. There's a point where like information is dangerous, misinformation. I feel like, especially with the news and everything, and there's always this quote about from Denzel Washington that I always loved. And this was before all of this. This was years ago. He said, the news doesn't care about being right. They care about being first. And when you have like a business model like that, where there's no fact checking necessary, I feel like that's dangerous. I think if there's anything that has to go on after this, I think we have to restructure a lot of shit. Like, this could get people mad at me, and that's okay. One of the biggest factors of that was considered in risk for coronavirus. And listen, whether you believe coronavirus is real or if the quarantine was called for, that's fine. Whatever you want to believe. But here's the biggest risk things that we have to take into account for any kind of situation like this. Overall health, obesity was a huge issue. Okay, that was the biggest complication and risk for developing coronavirus or having serious symptoms with it. I think overall, we can't go back to the way, like everybody wants to, let's go back to normal. We can't go back to a kind of people that wasn't working out all the time, the kind of people who were smoking cigarettes all the time, just drowning ourselves in junk food and bad food and fucking boneless wings, okay? They need to be the first to fucking go. I'm over them, okay? Disrespecting the bone and wing, an abomination. But being serious, like a lot of these issues are caused by self-infliction when it comes to health complications. Like that's the thing is like, I work out for a mental side of it, but a lot of it is I don't want to have health complications later in life. So I'm making that investment now to not have to deal with that later. And if I do, I'm sure it won't be as bad later in life. But I think a lot of people don't want to take responsibility for that. And it's interesting. That's an interesting part of it. And it's like, we can't, I think if we're really going to change things, and we got to be, and that's the thing is like, this whole pandemic, the interesting thing is when you look at how many people have died from car accidents, look at all the people who die from heart disease. You look at all the people who die from alcohol, cigarettes, painkillers, bad medication in general. You basically look at all these other ways that people are dying. Why aren't we treating those the same way? And a lot of it is that they're almost voluntary and people are making money off of them. I think we have to find a way to eliminate that, to at least minimize it. We need more people working out. We need more people eating healthier. We need more healthy options. And listen, before people start complaining about, yeah, well, junk food is just so much easier. Fast food is just quick and blah, blah, blah. Okay, go fuck yourself. Take a few more moments and meal prep during the week, okay? Make your meals yourself. Learn how to cook a little bit. Take on that responsibility. You can't always just be a victim of like, oh, well, everything, if I go and buy this, it's like $9.99 versus $2.99 for a lunch. Fuck you, okay? I'm just kidding, obviously, but fuck you, all right? I really do think that there's a certain point where there has to be like self-responsibility, and it's like, I don't know, it's a bigger issue. And I got into that with a buddy this morning. We were talking about like this quarantine and what should be done, how it should be done. And like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of issues. There's people stocking up on vitamin C. Like I've seen it when I go to the store. Like early on, I saw people just stocking up on vitamin C. All these people who are like obese. And I'm like, hey, that's great and all, but like there's bigger issues that could be helping this more, but you just got to make the investment. So I hope that's one thing that comes out of this is that people realize that we're not bulletproof. I don't like that I see a lot of people, their reasoning behind protesting and wanting the country to open back up isn't necessarily because they're worried about the world, that they're worried about our economy. That's just hot things that people at protests say is that, well, we don't shut down. How many people are going to lose their jobs? A lot of these people are protesting because they just want to go back to the gym. They just want to go out to eat. They just want to start being able to go to bars and shits again. They're bored, And I'm just like, that's a scary reason why you want everything to open up is because you're just bored. You're over it. But I do think, whether it's real or not in the sense of like how dangerous it can be. And I do think there's a lot of stuff when it does start opening back up that has to change, that we got to be more conscientious. That's a hard word to say for me. Of the foods we eat, the companies we support. Your boy, I'm going off the grid. I got my hunting rifle. I'm ready to go bag an elk straight up. So listen, if you listen to this and you're into hunting, I should probably start off with a deer. Okay, an elk is pretty big for my first big game animal. So if you're into hunting deer and everything and you're planning on going, I'll make the trip. I'll wear a face mask. I don't give a shit. But that's me being like, look, I got to take responsibility, because this was like a good test run of what a pandemic could be. Could we see another one? Probably. We probably will. If if you remember when I had the zoologist on here, the pangolin expert, who now has her own podcast. I should probably find that. I told her on the podcast that she should have one, and she has created her own podcast. So I birthed another podcast, and it's made me so happy. That's such a great honor. So Lauren's podcast is the Conservation Weekly Podcast. So go check it out on Spotify and iTunes. But the reason why I bring her up is she's on Instagram at Lauren's Wildlife. When we were talking on the podcast, she was saying a lot, and this is even after talking. She says a lot of this is because of the conditions that we have. We've kind of almost, even though it's not a man-made disease, we've made this disease possible by creating the environments that cultivate this, by making these petri dishes in these wet markets, wild animal or exotic animal trafficking, and just these conditions of factory farming and everything like that. So I think that's something we have to address, and it's going to become more prevalent, I think, in the future, these kind of diseases, based off just the road we're going down with factory farming. This is like a booming industry because everybody wants things now, instant, and we have such a demand for things. So I think and that's me just wanting to do my own life, is getting off of that world a little bit. If I knew I had a freezer full of elk meat and tuna and just stuff that I've hunted, and growing the veggies and everything and making my own bread, bars, I would just be happy, and it would feel like, okay, this is what we got to do. And I think just taking more responsibility. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm aware that I'm coming off a different way, this podcast, okay? And you know what I blame? I blame the fucking table, okay? Yeah, I got a table, it's round, and it makes me feel like I have to be more, I don't know, serious. I think that's what's happening in this episode. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to blame it on the table. I'm not going to blame it on Mono, my conspiracy monkey. But it's been good episode. But yeah, I'm excited to go hunting. If we're going to end this on a lighter note, I'm excited to go hunting. I want to live off the land. I want to go back to the Bible days. I want to forage and pillage and just live out my days that way, with a nice blend of technology and living off of the land. Because the last thing you want to do is actually live off the land. Feel me, dog? You want to be able to live off the land, but also be able to go in and watch a movie in 4K. Okay? I want to be able to just go inside and spark up that Xbox. Okay? I want to be, if I get a nice little pneumonia, I want to be able to go get that antibiotics. Okay? All right? That's how I'm feeling. Let's see, what else do I got going on this week? Not a lot, just going to be quarantined and just going to keep working. And I've decided, so here's a little peek behind the, the curtain, whatever the Wizard of Oz had, how things work. One of my businesses that I do, and yeah, I just made that sound like I'm a fucking baller. Aside from doing video production, I do a lot of merch online, and it's mainly stuff that just sells. I work with Amazon, other websites and everything, and I sell a lot of shirts, hoodies, face masks now, and just random little things. But I'm like, man, what could I make that I could actually sell myself? Because I wouldn't be selling stuff unless it represents me. And I think I'm going to make a chicken wing line of shirts and hoodies to support the chicken wing lifestyle. Because I'll be honest with you guys, your boy is becoming iconic with the chicken wing. If you guys knew how many memes I get daily, I like having a table so I can slam that daily. I get chicken wing memes daily, whether it's boneless or bone-in, okay? I'm becoming more synonymous with chicken wings than Steve Jobs with Apple. Sorry, we had a stroke for a second, okay? I'm becoming more synonymous with chicken wings than Steve Jobs with Apple, more than Bill Gates with 5G vaccines, okay? There, I said it. I'm becoming more synonymous with chicken wings than Mono with his little pandemic YouTube videos, okay? Little tinfoil hat. Fuck you. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of 7 Minutes in Evan. I'm sorry about taking your hat off, Mono, okay? But it was for dramatic effect. And now I'm talking to the goddamn statue. I need to get a goddamn podcast guest on here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 4:20 right now, so blaze up, kids. I love you. I'll see you next week. And by next week, I mean Thursday. Look at this. I get a goddamn table. The wheels came off this fucking thing. But I love you.